Hi, Spiritual Beings family. Welcome to session 14 of the inaugural Spiritual Beings Virtual Summit. We have a session entitled, Can NFT Communities Change the World? And I'm personally so excited by this because for me, this is what it's all about. This is about what we are all doing here, and what Spiritual Beings is doing is with a clear mission and mindset mandate to actually bring change, to do something that's going to make this world a better place. And it may be just story by story, person by person, but to have that idea right from the outset to do that. And so I'm excited today to be joined by Lars, who I just know and believe is doing this exact thing. And I'm excited to be able to talk to him and really glean some of his vision and some of his outlook on how all of this is playing out and what the days ahead can look like. So Lars, welcome. I'm so excited that you are with us today and that you've joined us for this session. I'd love you just to start by introducing yourself and just sharing a little bit about your story so far, your journey, and what it is that you're working on and where you sit in the space at the moment.
Yeah, Jody, thanks for having me. And I'm very excited about this space too. I think that my journey started, kind of unexpected, like most of us. We get introduced by someone to it, and then from there, we find a use case or something that resonates with us. And then from there, we're going to do our own research and see what our space is going to be in this new world. And I think that that's how it also happened for me. I was involved with an animation studio in the US where I was managing all the talent globally. And what happened at one point is that the CEO reached out to me, said, Gary V was like informing like different people on Twitter that he wanted to buy an animation studio. And I said, oh, that's kind of an interesting approach. Why would he want to buy an animation studio? And then he said, because he is starting a new NFT project called V Friends. And I think that's the first time that I really like heard about like NFTs besides the thing that happened with people in 2021. So I think that, from there, I started researching into what they did because the CEO of the animation studio put his video up on Twitter, and Gary reached out to be able to see if we were for sale. We didn't end up going that direction, but that was the spark for me to see like what's an entrepreneur like Gary V doing with NFTs. And that's when I realized it's not just the artwork that matters, it's also the utility behind it and the community behind it that really has a special place in this new world that we're heading towards. So I think that that's where my journey started. I did a lot of brainstorming over that summer, and I came up with a concept called vacay shares, what was kind of like a timeshare model combined with NFTs. So that way I was able to crowdfund my apartment in about 2 months' time. So I guess that's how I got Twitter spaces and all kinds of things. And that's how I grew my audience pretty fast. So I met a lot of the founders that you see today from different projects that have had success. Others are still building. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that we're all doing our own things. And I think from the lessons that I took from my first journey, I was able to build a new NFT project where we're curating an audience of 90 people, to entrepreneurs and creators, to come to Turkey in person, but also stay in touch digitally to really build something special together. So I think that for me, that's kind of the journey I had in the NFT space.
That's amazing. I actually really love that because it is such an innovative way to combine real life with this space and doing it in a way that's impacting people who are impacting people, and just that ripple effect of what that means, and setting up these ecosystems that you have is really exciting to think about. Not only just the genesis of that, but as it's continuing to evolve, all that is becoming. And I think that you touched on a really good point when you were saying the idea about there are some really big NFT communities at this season that are now very well established. And you kind of come in early and started hearing about different things, but there's a lot happening in this space now. There's a lot of collections, a lot of builders building, a lot of incredible things being done. How do you think the world is different since these NFT communities have been formed, and now that they're taking traction and they're doing some great things. And what impact do you think the NFT world has had on the real world at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I always like to explain this in the way that you maybe have seen some of these graphics where it says like Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. I like to do the same when it comes to community. So I guess Web 1 is like reading. It's like when I guess blogs came out, people started posting on their websites like early 2000s, and it was kind of all very plain. It was like Wikipedia type of websites that we're getting used to, and I think then Web 2 was when social media was more like coming forward. And that's when we had the ability to share and read and also like kind of have that thing where we could stay up to date on our lives no matter where we are. So I think that's like what Web 2 really represented. And I think Web 3 is where you could also own some of these things. So it's like instead of being part of a community like a Facebook group, what is different between being part of a Facebook group and being part of an NFT community is that you have ownership of some form of an asset that can be a ticket or an art piece or a profile picture, whatever you see fit as the visual representation of that asset. But that asset also, a lot of the time in this new world, comes with a lot of utilities that you can provide access to through that NFT and the technology that's available. And I think that changes a lot of the things for us as people, because we have a sense of belonging. We have what we still had in Facebook groups, but we now have a sense of ownership, that we are part of something and that we can use that identity that we have digitally. Like, I mean, Bored Apes is a good example of that, where people build brands for themselves with their apes. And I think that's like also something that we'll start to see more and more, because the hierarchy is flat. There is no, I guess the founder of a project is almost equally as important as each individual inside of the project. And I think that is the difference between communities before and now.
Yes, that's such a great point. And I love that, the impact of what that's having on the world by people being able to say, have then their own brand that comes out of that. But also, as you said, this flat structure where everyone feels and everyone is equally a part of this. It's very unique and obviously something that is incredibly impacting on an individual people, but then as culture and society as a whole. And it's fascinating to think about where that goes to, and like how the world could be different, even more so because of these principles that are coming out of Web3. What kind of things do you think could be possible? Where do you kind of see this going? What do you think some of the real world impacts could be having as it's continuing to evolve and strengthening and growing within Web3? What is that spillover effect? What's some vision there that you think could happen?
I mean, I obviously think that licensing is going to be something that is going to live in this space. I think receipts of anything you buy, both physically and digitally, I think is going to live this way. Like we have already seen it kind of with avatars now. I mean, Reddit came out with their profile pictures. I think that other people, social media platforms are going to take note and start like applying their own strategies to that. So I think that digital identity, and then obviously I don't want to go too deep into like metaverse, because making predictions on that is very difficult. But I would say licensing makes sense to me. Supply chain makes sense to me. Receipts make sense to me. Loyalty programs make sense to me. So that's where communities maybe come in a little bit more, where we're a lot more engaged. At like, for example, like with what we're doing, we're working with like Hilton, for example, and we see there's a lot of potential to make their honors program in the form of like Web3, where you feel like you're part of a family or part of a community and not just a customer or a number in the line. And I think that that's where we will see a lot of the innovation come in, because a lot of big brands now are clueless. I think Starbucks probably the best so far, as far as like a big brand doing something with NFTs without calling it NFTs. So I think that's something that we have to pay attention to as well, that we don't go too deep on like the, I would say like the maxi route where we're just going to push that this is the wording we need to use. Instead, we should focus on like what resonates with people, and what do people want to use anyway and feel like they're passively onboarded into this space.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's such a great point that you raise there about the idea of the impact of that Web3 just sense of being part of something and being family and community. If that affects into, you know, Web 2 and into traditional business, to not just feel like you're a customer, but you're actually genuinely part of the family, that you are part of that company, that's a game changer, because people are loyal and people are, you know, really love to feel like they're part of something that's bigger than themselves. I think we're innately, I think we're all created with that sense of wanting community, that there's something about us that wants to feel like we belong. And so I think that's why these Web3 communities are so powerful, because we belong with people who are, you know, we're gathering around a central vision. We're gathering around an idea that we all believe in and love. And I think it's fascinating to think about what that looks like in terms of how that affects the world if we take that mentality into there. Because yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to me to see a world where people are that connected in and feel like that sense of buy-in to things, rather than just a customer. So what would be like in terms of, I know it can feel like a very audacious kind of heading of like, we're going to change the world kind of feeling. But what do you think are like some of the low hanging fruit of like the immediate kind of next steps that, you know, NFT communities and Web3 can have on the rest of the world, in a way that, as you've kind of said, some of these ones already who are taking this up, what's some of those initial goals you think we will start to see happen as a result?
Well, I also think that there's still like Web 2 use cases that we can utilize without calling it Web 3 right away. So I think that a low-hanging fruit that I would mention when I mentor founders like that are interested in going towards Web 3, I say, well, create a token gated page, and behind that token gated page, create affiliate links that give discounts to Web 2 related connections or loyalty programs that you already have access to now, and just share that with your audience so that and make it that it's relevant to what that audience actually is all about. So if you're dealing with travelers, then you should do discounts on stays or experiences or flights. And that makes sense for them. So if you create something like that, not only do you have another income stream as a Web3 business because you did affiliate links, but at the same time, you're providing a discount to your community members with the network that you already built in Web2. So you're using your history of connections and network of Web2 to be able to create benefits for the people that are in your community in Web3. So that's a low-hanging fruit that I would suggest to people. So I guess if you're into spirituality and mental health, well-being, it could be apps that you provide a discount for. If they normally have to pay for it, maybe you get a significant discount. So I would say discounts and token gated pages would be my answer to low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. And such a great way to be able to practically do something and start to see some of those goals. And I love the potential of that for us spiritual beings. There's different opportunities and experiences that we will be offering our community that is hard to access without having a lot of different connections. So it's almost being that connection into having an audience with a Broadway star, or having, who will talk through, the spirituality of ourself and within that acting space. Or it could be like, different opportunities, different experiences that we'll be able to facilitate. So exactly what you're saying, you kind of use those connections from Web2, bring that in and make it in a way so that it has all of those great elements of Web3 and makes it even better, makes it more accessible, makes it incredible to have that. So I know that you talk with founders, that you are in the Web3 space. You are, obviously looking at all that's evolving and what's happening. We said, even there is a flat structure. Even the founder is kind of just as important as any of the holders, and there is this sense of all in it together. And yet there is a team that have to actually bring it into reality. There is a team that have to take all of the ideas and all of the vision and actually make it happen, make it tangible. And so, in your experience, what does a dream NFT team look like that is able to do some of these changes and to bring some of this innovation in that we've been talking about? What does that look like for you?
So I think that I think in some ways we approach it from this like place of numbers. Like that's how I always start. So that, like 10,000, like let's say you do a 10,000 collection, like most people, the first 3 months I was in the NFT space, I heard 10,000 collection after 10,000 collection after 10,000 collection. And at that time it worked because there wasn't really a lot of noise out there. So when you saw an interesting project, you probably invest in it for like $50. But if 10,000 people decide to do that, then I guess that collection sells out. But the more projects come in, and if there's not more wallets coming in, then we kind of have a problem. So I kind of like explained this to founders in a way where don't focus on the 10,000. Focus on the 5 team members and make them understand your vision, and almost that they are so passionate about your vision that they're actually going out there and finding those first 100 early adopters. And you could see that as like a whitelist or a pre-sale list. What a lot of those projects do is they want to make the whitelist or the pre-sale list as big as they possibly can. I believe this is no different than a Web2 company doing a Kickstarter campaign. You have to first get your early adopters, get feedback from those early adopters, and then you launch, but not launching through yourself. It's those 100 people going to their network and saying, I am part of this community. It's very small. I got all these utilities right off the bat. I really like the other 99 people or whatever amount of people that you decide to do that I really enjoy. I think you should join as well. It's $50. You should really do this, right? That's a different mentality than if you go in, I'm trying to sell out right away to 10,000 people. I think it's way easier to find 5 people that are very similar to you, at different skill sets. That can be, let's say, if we talk about dream team, I would say a graphic designer, a developer, a community manager, the founder, what would be like kind of like the person with the vision that kind of started everything. And then I would say someone that is just fully focused on partnerships. I think if I would put an ultimate NFT team together for the first drop or first thing you want to build out, I would say those 5 people you need to be able to make that a reality. And then I think those 5 people are responsible for finding the 100 people inside of their network to be able to create early adopters that can have first access to checking out the utilities, checking out the artwork, look a little bit behind the scenes so that they feel like they're part of the journey. You could even give them potentially also royalties of the smart contract. That's another interesting use case I've brought forward to people. So not only can you reward your team members, you can also reward your early adopters. And that's when you cut it off. And then you say, okay, now with those 105 people, we're now going to go and see if we can find that group of 10,000 people. So my approach to finding a team is making sure that they understand the vision as good as that visionary that came forward with it. And then from there, building out that level of them feeling responsible to also get their network involved, and that's how you get to the 100. And the same effect happens when you're trying to go for a bigger number like 10,000. And I think that that's the sustainable business model, where the 100 already pay for something that's going to make you sustainable as a team early on, and then the 10,000 will be the numbers that make you sustainable as a business. So I feel like that is the healthy way for me to start an NFT project or business.
Yeah, that's great, and such great advice and insight there, about how important that team is, and how that really does set that very that solid base, and then outwork from there, and those early adopters, and then everyone coming in at that point, how it all starts from there. And I know for me personally as a founder, having also not only a team but having 3 incredible artist ambassadors has also been amazing, to have them capture the vision and just be really excited for that, and as you said, kind of sharing and onboarding with their communities. It just builds that out even more to create that momentum. So I'm really interested for you to share with us how you've been able to cultivate, and how you see is the best way to cultivate an NFT community that stays engaged and stays involved in the mission and the vision of the project. As you said, it was really important for the team to get that vision. How do you advise and recommend that then we keep the whole project focused on that vision? And there's so many distractions, I guess, in Web3, and so many other factors playing into it. So how do you suggest that happens?
I think what I would do is I'm probably going to give the example of what I'm trying to do with the event that I'm building, that is at the same time also a community, because they're buying an NFT as a ticket. So I think how we want it to be sustainable, because I could just throw an event, or like an NFT project would do a launch and provide like one utility, and then we're done, right? Like a one-time purchase. But that defeats the purpose of the whole building long-lasting connections and making sure that it's sustainable. So what I believe should happen is everybody that buys an NFT, and in my case that's a ticket, they also buy the rights to be able to create inside of that community. And how do we do that is by providing the opportunity to give, let's say, workshops or create events with music in different cities in Europe. So, for example, there is a DJ in Berlin and there is a health coach in Berlin. And they say, we both went to Vivel, we connected, we figured out that we're from the same place. We would love to set up a meetup weekend in Berlin. And that could be a perfect occasion for everyone to come to meet up again after the signature event that we do in Turkey. So now it becomes, you don't have to go to every single meetup, but now you can pick and choose. Let's say there's 10 every year. You can pick and choose the ones you want to continuously stay in touch with people. And then we build an app where you have like a Facebook going, where you could say, I'm going to this one. And then you can see all the people that you met during the first event that are also going to be at these meetups. So for me, it's like the combination between, let's say, an email newsletter weekly where we give updates. We spotlight people that have purchased an NFT or a ticket. We spotlight DJs. And this way, everybody keeps seeing things from each other. And it's very curated. That's why I decided to do 90 tickets, because I want to make sure I know every single person, and everybody in that 90 knows also kind of from each other. And then every year we grow it organically. So for me, the sustainability lies in frequent touch points, and that can be Twitter spaces or newsletters or something digitally that adds value to that community and is related to the topics of your community. And then on top of that, create in real life meetups that are not facilitated by me, but by the community, and then approved, I guess, by the team of the community, so that it becomes almost, they have that self-agency to create their own. And potentially they could even charge for those weekends, and they could even make their own income using our branding. I mean, that's the perfect example of I guess like the Bored Ape example of getting like your brand underneath what gives you the visibility because you're part of that community. So that's like kind of my visions, both in person and digitally.
Yeah, look, that is amazing. I love that, because what you're essentially saying is, again, engaging the community and doing that in a way that's very personal for them, so that it's just, again, another iteration of this concept we've been talking about. So allowing people that freedom and giving people that platform to be able to contribute in their way what they bring to the community, and setting that up as almost a way to be able to increase that the visibility of each member, but also then that shared experiences that can come from that. And just that, as you said, that constant communication, and just making sure that you're facilitating and fostering an atmosphere within the community that is one of interaction. And it really is set up for people not just to be spectators, but to actually be involved. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, because I know that's the heart of myself for spiritual beings, and I'm sure many founders, is that it doesn't want to just be a show that we produce, that people just kind of sit back and either like or critique, or and kind of go, oh, right, okay, then it's something that we're saying, no, we're all in this together, and we're gonna give lots and lots of opportunities and situations, but it ultimately is something that we all jump into together. So I think that is so exciting, and I love what you're doing, and I think it has incredible merit in that the way that just fosters a very authentic and a very real community, and something that people will love and really have amazing impact for their lives. I'm interested in, when we're thinking through all of this, thinking about what's missing in the NFT space. What is missing out of Web3 that you think, it'd be really great if we had something that, or maybe several things, I don't know, that you believe could have a massive impact if only it was adopted more, if only it was utilized? Is there anything that you can think of there?
I mean, I do think that there's kind of a bridge between this question and like how do you get mass adoption to happen, and I think that's another important question. It's tough. Like what's missing, I think, is maybe the user experience for it to be friendly, so that people don't have fear. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I say is missing, because I know there's a lot of people interested in what it can do, but we also have to know how to do it and what the consequences are of doing it that way. And I think that's kind of what's missing. I think it's a little bit of providing a level of security, because the early adopters here are a bit like rebellious. Let's go decentralization. Let's kind of go that direction, and then we'll see what happens. But 99% of people don't work like that, so they need to have a little bit more security, and I think that's an important factor that I think is missing, because right now, how I describe it sometimes, it's like having a fishbowl in the middle of the ocean, and that's where we're fishing. And I think it needs to be a little bit bigger than that. And so what is missing to me is that we can provide a level of security that is going to make people feel comfortable purchasing an NFT. That's an asset that they can have forever. And for example, one of the major problems that I think is in right now for having a wallet is, I mean, if you would die today, would your family know how to get to your assets? That's a really big question that I think not many people can answer. Even myself, I would say, I don't think that my assets are safe in that regard. Like I could explain, first they need to know where it is. Then they need to understand how to unlock it. Then they need to understand how to transfer it. And I don't think we're anywhere near that. So for me, that's the biggest thing that's missing, is that level of security that makes the masses come in, that 99% that isn't there right now. they won't come in until that problem is solved. That's at least my opinion, and I think that someone is going to figure it out, and whoever does that is the new Facebook or the new the new Instagram, the new Twitter. Like that's going to be the major thing, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's interesting. We just had the session before this was, an education kind of intro session about how to set up a wallet and how to mint and going through the basics of that. And there's so much of that is that we find ourselves, you have to talk about security because it is such a major part of this space, and that people are, it is almost, it's a new frontier, which is very exciting, and it's all decentralized, but it does feel a bit like the Wild West because there's just all sorts of things happening everywhere, and you really do have to be on your guard. And I think that level of trepidation sometimes and fear to come into it is because it's so easy for something to go wrong at this stage, and especially with, as you're saying, even just for for family members to understand, it's all good in theory, but how do we actually utilize any of this if anything was to happen? And I think that is, I guess I always kind of think about this stage as being almost like the dial-up phase of the internet. It was a bit clunky, and you couldn't be on the phone, and I'm on the internet and whatever, and then it's like you wouldn't even notice it now. Wi-Fi, everyone's in the house, all on their own devices, and it's just such a huge difference compared to what it was. And I think that we'll head to there, as you're saying, but this is definitely that what's missing is that piece, is that next part. And so do you think that would be one of the biggest challenges the space faces at the moment, or do you think there's other challenges that we are facing?
I mean, I think it's a common problem even in the past. It's quality control. I would say is another one but that counts also for Web 2, Web 1. Any time before that, that counts 3, 5, 1,000 years ago. That was always the case. So I think that the thing that is a good thing, and that I hold myself to, is that you just got to focus on delivering quality to everybody that you encounter. And I think if you do that, you don't have anything to worry about. And I think if you go for a cash grab, then I think that obviously that's where a lot of other problems lie in this space. So I think that for everyone that's listening that really feels like they have a good idea, I'd say the best thing to do is to be transparent with your community that you're building with, and really trying to deliver quality, and really be conscious of the consequences of putting something out there. Now you have to think about it 10 times because it's on the blockchain, it's not going anywhere. And if you tie your reputation to that, then I think you have to be more cautious than you had to be before. Even though it feels anonymous, I think in the end it all comes out, just like anything in life. So I believe that that's the lessons that we have to learn from the past and apply it to the current.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think that is something that, that transparency is a really great thing. I think in Web 2 there was a lot of being able to hide behind different platforms and different accounts and avatars and whatever. And I think that the blockchain, with the way that it makes things transparent and it's permanent, is an incredible thing. So I guess, a phrase that's used a lot in the space at the moment is that we're still early. That everyone here at the moment, we're all still early. This is like day zero. These are the early days. And where do you think that once that does change and we're no longer early and mass adoption has come in, and it looks very different, what do you think that the biggest changes when that happens will happen to the way that communities operate now? What do you think that will look like in terms of the biggest changes for the communities? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that change happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think that are we still early on paper? Yes. Do more people know what the terms mean? And also, yes. So I think that a lot of people know what it is. I think that if you're already familiar and have the skill set to navigate yourself in this space, and you had more time to figure out what role you want to play in this new like ecosystem that we're now all building together. I think that sometimes it's about looking at the perspective, right? Right now, everything that we do is kind of crowded because if there is, let's say, 100,000 wallets and there is 1,000 10K projects, then a lot of these 10K projects based on liquidity won't sell out. So that means that right now there is not enough wallets or not enough liquidity for us to be kind of in a market where there is more demand than there is supply. At this moment in time, there's more supply than there is demand. So I think that when that happens, what you're describing, like mass adoption, more wallets coming in, more liquidity coming in, then you will start to see that more of these projects will find its audience. And I think from there you will start to see that you don't have to focus on the whole world. You better just focus on your niche. And that's similar to how in the past Web 2 and Web 1 also has worked. That I think it will crystallize itself out. So for me, I don't think you should worry that it's not going exactly the way you want when you're launching something in this time. Because again, like I said, there is VCs launching NFT projects that have funding to be able to push marketing and to push advertising to basically snatch those 100,000 wallets, and then their liquidity is gone, and now they cannot invest into the small projects anymore because they decided to buy into that project that they knew was going to succeed. And I think that that's like the thing that we have to navigate in these early days is that don't try to aim too big in the beginning. It's like build a foundation, build a reputation, build a name, because when everybody else comes in, you are also an asset as a founder, as a creator, as an artist, as a developer. That don't underestimate the power of time, because if you ask anyone how much experience do you have in Web3, nobody could say more than 2 years. Like you can have more experience on the blockchain or on crypto, but then you're probably a developer because nobody 2 years before this was in the space that was not a developer or someone in the technical realm. All the marketeers came when NFTs really became a thing because they could explain that, and now everybody else could understand it. So I think that you really just have to set yourself up for success and follow your passions and the things that you are excited about, and put it in the form of an NFT or anything related to the blockchain. And I think you will start to see that if you were last in line before, I think the line is going to turn around, and then now you're in front of the line. So I think that that's my advice to people, is that don't be discouraged by not selling. I think be encouraged by the fact that you actually have knowledge that a lot of people in this world don't have. And also being open about what you know and sharing it in a very open source manner is going to lead to attract people that might not be in the space, that do have the finances, that do have the opportunities outlined for you. So I think that that's my best advice I can give on the matter.
Yeah, look, and that is fabulous advice, and really great thinking points to think about the idea. And I love that the fact that projects really now in this space are being so much more defined in that. I think I may have, yeah, so much more defined in what it is they're building, because the quality of it and just the whole idea of what you're bringing to market has to be so much more developed than what it was even 12 months ago, when there was this, big bull market and so many projects were coming out. There was really an idea and some great art and, this roadmap that was like, this is what we're going to try and do. But I feel like now there's so much more work that has to happen pre-launch in terms of really, as you said, getting into that very specific, what am I bringing? Why does this space need it? Why do people need this? And just that message of encouragement, as you said, that it is a builder's season where everything that we're all working on and everything that we're all building is there ready, stocking the shelves almost, say ready for this next wave and this mass adoption, and people to come in who will absolutely love different aspects and different communities and different parts of this space. So I think that's such a great way to look at it, that it really is setting things up, and the idea of who's last on the line becomes first is, you know, it's a beautiful picture and one of exciting. I think that there is much excitement looking at that next season beyond here, and just so much encouragement for those who are working really hard in this season, who are really you know, just have such a passion and such a belief in what they're doing, that they're not being deterred, they're not giving up, they just keep on going. And I feel so proud and excited to be part of a community that has those kind of values and that idea to just carry something of worth in that way. I'm interested, when we do look back and when we talk again, and you know, and we're reflecting on these days, the days right now that we're in. These will be the good old days, and those of us who are in now and are in, you know, early, will look back in the years to come and have very distinct memories about what this was like now. I think we even have that from last year. People having memories of what that was like, the craziness of that, excitement of that bull rush, and all that was happening. So when you think about these days, what do you think will be the fondest memories that you have of these very early pioneering kind of good old days?
I mean, I think it's the Twitter Spaces for me. Like, I think that whenever that got introduced, when social audio became a thing, in combination with this Web3 bull run that you're describing as like the good old days, yeah, I think that's probably the memories that I will go towards. It's like how small the world was then, how you kind of knew all the builders, you knew all the people that were innovating, because everybody at that moment in time was in Twitter Spaces. And in the very beginning, there was only 10 of them that were like consistently live, that everybody joined into. So you basically grew your network so fast, and people really have those memories the same way as the others. And this is maybe a pool of like 20,000 people that I think all kind of knew of each other, or have been in spaces together, have shared that energy together. So I think that's like where I would look back at, is like, maybe some of these companies will become like the terms of the future of the next 10 years. And then you were able to build with those people. You could say, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person, because I was in the spaces with them. I heard them talk, I heard their ideas. I saw the flaws in the beginning, and we all saw them together, and we talked about it. And, you know, I think that in combination with even the very small spaces that are a lot more intimate, like we had this one space over the last year, it's called Family Dinner, and people from all over the world, different countries, were sitting there and sharing their their thoughts and their feelings in ways that we never had the ability to do before. So I think that's what I would have the fond memories of. It's like the intimate spaces with the people building early on. I think that nobody can take that from us, and I do believe that some of these founders, they will end up becoming like the new Elon Musks and Mark Zuckerbergs of this world.
Yeah, I think you're right there too, and I think it'll be fun to see that and remember what it was like to be in spaces with these people, and to be chatting on Discord, and to be, you know, very much a part of how it's evolving. And yeah, I agree. There is something very special about being at the genesis of something, being at the beginning of something. Really is very, very special, because once it's done, once it gets big, once this whole new season comes, it'll never be like this again. So I think that there's a lot of challenges at the moment, and people are tired, and it's hard sometimes in these kind of markets. And I think it's also true to say that these are very special times, and times that we'll never be in again. but we'll always have the memories and to be able to reflect back on that and to look at that. So yeah, look, Lars, I thank you for this conversation, just for sharing your thoughts and ideas and visions into that. I think that we will look back. I'm thankful that you are part of this space and are doing something that is so valuable and bringing in such incredible innovations and changes and just impacting people. And I actually think this is a bigger conversation than just a one session of our virtual summit. I'm actually going to launch a video interview series and talk to as many people and founders and voices in the space at the moment in this time as I can, to kind of start videoing and cataloging and understanding just ideas around this. So we'll have to chat again and keep the progress happening as things are evolving and changing, and seeing if it is looking exactly how we envisaged and how it may be changing. But I'm so thankful for today, and thank you for speaking into our spiritual beings community, which really is in that, as you said, that stage of really capturing the vision, getting excited about what it is. This is very niche. It's something that we believe is such an important part of this space of Web3. So much of life is being done in Web3, and spirituality for us is such an important part of life. And so to bring that in to this space and to be able to cultivate a community and a mindset and just something around that is we're passionate about and very exciting to do. So thank you for being a friend in this and for being with us as we are with you, and we will talk again soon.
100%. Yeah, no, I appreciate the setup of this, and I think it's really important for everybody to have a voice, to be able to share the things that they're thinking, because in the end, there's maybe people listening that can learn something from that, and I think that's the open source mentality that we should all have. So I think that's a great idea to capture those things and to put it into a timeline that we can always look back at or take as a resource. So I think that what you guys are doing is really great, and I'm more than happy to support in any way I can.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lars. And thank you everyone for watching. I know you would have taken many insights and just ideas from what Lars has shared today. And I really hope that you're able to apply that to your situation and take it from there. So thank you, everyone. And we will see you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye, Lars.